So in this video, I want to do a beginner tutorial walking you through the basic manual settings on your Insta360 X5 camera. This is my favorite 360 camera. I love using this camera mainly because you don't have to think about where you are pointing the camera. It just captures everything. And the automatic settings on this camera are fantastic. They will capture everything and get you 80% of the way there. But if you're someone who wants to take your videos and photos to the absolute next level, add a bit more personalization to the outcome, then this is what I want to walk you through in this video. I want to walk you through how to adjust the settings, tell you exactly what every setting does and how it's going to affect the final outcome of your photos and videos. Make sure you go below to grab my video settings cheat sheet. It is a one-page cheat sheet that gives you access to all my favorite settings no matter where you're shooting. That'll be down below. So on your X5, to access the settings and tweak things manually, you want to first turn it on, and on your preview screen you want to swipe from right to left, and that's going to bring you over to your settings. Now you'll see at the bottom of the screen you can either select between automatic and manual. If you select automatic, the camera is going to do everything for you, but if you click manual, you'll have access to change and play around with everything. Now first we have the color profile. Now there's many different color profiles on the X5 to choose from standard to a vivid look and even a flat look. Now flat is a color profile that almost looks desaturated. If you're somebody who wants to do some color editing afterwards and really fine tune the look of your videos and photos in post-production, shoot in a flat color profile, and then you can really reintroduce those colors how you want afterwards. The vivid and standard colors, they're presets from Insta360. They're pretty good. If you're someone who likes a really saturated image, the vivid might be for you, and then the standard is just a good all-around feel, a more natural looking feel. Now then you have the option to adjust the shutter speed. Now before I share the recommended shutter speed, there isn't really a recommended shutter speed actually, because it's all going to depend on one, your frame rate, and two, what you're shooting. So the rule of thumb is that your shutter speed should be double what your frame rate is. So if you're shooting at 30 frames a second, ideally you want to have a shutter speed of 1/60. That's double your frame rate. But that can obviously change depending on lighting situations, whether you're shooting something that is fast paced or just slow vlog walking or anything like that. So you'll have to experiment with that. But if you're using something faster paced, generally you'll want a slightly higher shutter speed. But if you lower the shutter speed, you will enable that speed or motion blur, it's more like a natural motion blur into your footage. So I generally use a slower shutter speed for filming mountain biking, not too slow because then the camera really does struggle to keep up with that, but that's generally what I think about. Now then we have ISO. So ISO is a way of artificially introducing light into your videos and photos. Depending on how you set your resolution, your frame rate and your shutter speed, that's going to dictate how exposed your shot is. Now this is a perfectly exposed shot right now. You can see me, you can see the background. It's all done automatically. If you set your shutter speed super low and it is already really bright, then you'll want to have your ISO as low as possible because you don't want any extra light. You want to reduce the amount of light going into the camera. And generally the rule of thumb is that you want as low ISO as possible. So ISO artificially introduces light to your footage. The more light you artificially introduce, the grainier your footage is going to look. So if you're shooting in like I say, a super dark scenario and you want to introduce more light, you're going to get to a point where you're going to see grainy footage because the camera's trying so hard to introduce that light. So there is a natural balance. Now if you're experiencing grainier looking footage when you try and increase the ISO, then maybe we need to either change our shooting environment, or we need to look at our frame rate and shutter speed and adjust those first before we adjust the ISO. Then we have a setting on here called EV Comp. Now EV Comp, I generally usually shoot this at -0.3 to -0.1, or sorry, -1 even. And I will go for the -1 option the higher the exposure that I'm shooting in. So if it's a super bright day, there's no clouds, the sun's out, it's blue sky, I will try and preserve my shadows and my colors by shooting in -1. If you shoot slightly higher, you're going to lose those shadows and those darker colors and the contrast. And then we also have white balance. So white balance is a great way to adjust the temperature of your footage. So if you want to have a warmer feel, like an orangey feel to your footage, so it's more like a summertime video, then you'll want a slightly higher white balance, say 5,500 up to 6,000 and higher K. That's how it's measured. It's measuring, you'll see it on the screen, like on a sliding scale, 5,000, 5,500 K. And K stands for Kelvin if you're interested. And the opposite is reversed as well. So if you want a cooler look to your video and you want it more of a blue tone, then you want to drop that right down to less than 4,000. Again, it'll all be dictated by wherever you shoot. It's going to be different for everyone, but that's the general rule of thumb and how it all works. Now, automatic settings are fantastic, but if you want to take your videos and photos to the next level, I highly recommend you spend a little bit of time getting to know the manual settings on your camera and how to use them. Do go and get my video settings cheat sheet, which will be linked in the description below. Any questions on settings on the Insta360 X5 camera or any other action camera actually, pop the comments below and I'll reply with a written comment or make a video for you.